1050 AM and 106.5 FM, KCAA Loma Linda.
You're listening to an encore presentation of this program, KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. Yeah. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And I'm Travis Matthews.
Yes, and today is going to be a new topic, as it is every weekend. So before we get started on that, Kyle, you know what time it is?
It's sponsor time.
Sponsor time.
SNJRadio.com. No negative news, no politics, just feel good music.
Speaking of sponsors, there's a company that I really want to hop on our sponsorship with. My dad and I went up to Oak Glen, and he calls himself the Tobacconist, right?
The Tobacconist?
Yes. So obviously
That's a new one.
Yeah. So it's behind this cute little shop in Oak Glen, and it's just like it's a good time to get some fresh air, smoke cigars, have a good time. Nice. You know, it's very friendly. Everyone that walks in there, like they introduce themselves to you, they say goodbye, you know, all that good stuff. And it's only been around for about 4 years. Yeah. But it's something different, and you know, he's a young buck, started up his own business, kind of like what we're going to be talking about today, right? Yeah. And so it's definitely a good opportunity for him to come on and talk about how he built his business and stuff. So it's kind of relating to today's topic because Travis is here. He was here a couple months ago.
Yeah, May. Yeah.
In May, doing some solar, some education for all the people out here. Which honestly, I was very impressed about the knowledge and the explanation that you were giving that day. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say today. So, Travis, what were you into now? What's going on?
I'm still into solar, except I got deeper into it. Instead of just kind of being the guy that knocks on your door and helps you figure out how to do it, I started my own business. So I use the Power platform now. So it's basically a cloud-based EPC. Right. So I can get everything the whole industry can get. And then everything is lower price because it's like going right to the manufacturer.
So you're cutting out the middleman, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So instead of being a sales rep working for a company, I'm myself working for me. And then I help people directly. So I can help remotely. I do everything on Zoom now. I work from home. I got to spend time with my family. You know what I mean? See my kids whenever I want, and then I just run appointment after appointment on Zoom. So now I help people in Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, everywhere.
So you're like the operator, like you operate the business and then you just send guys out there, or how?
Well, we work with local installers. So Power has a network of all the local installers, in every city they use that are the top-notch installers in the area. Right. So when I sell a job, they take a project manager, put them on the project, and then Power basically handles the back end, their whole operations. Okay. So all I have to worry about is either handing it off and letting them do it, or I can walk through every step with my customer. It's completely up to me because it's my business. Right. It's like I pay every month to have the access to the platform, and now I have better tools to help people get solar and save money and figure out the way to do it, because it's definitely different now that we don't have the whole net metering thing out here. Right. So, net metering was the big thing. Everybody's like, oh, I can just feed to the grid, build a huge system, and then I'll never have a power bill. Now it's way more complicated because now you can't use the grid as a battery. It was never a good idea. Like I said last time, that's not a good idea because when the power goes out, you lose power anyway.
Right. So explain to the people what kind of like recap what you had that conversation with us the last time we were here.
Well, basically in NEM2, anybody who got solar up until April, they had a one-to-one credit system. So anything you produced in the day that you weren't using because you weren't home goes back to the grid, and you get one-to-one credit. So then at the end of the night, when you're pulling off the grid, you're pulling those credits back. It's like a virtual piggy bank of power, virtual battery, if you will, right? So then if the grid goes down, you still lose power. So it was good for making people money, you know what I mean? Because they they made enough money back to pay their bill and not have to have a bill, you know. And then now it's different. Now you can't use the grid as a battery because now you get like a penny back or a nickel, depending on the time of day. So anything you feed, you lose money on, you know. So now instead of building a huge, enormous system like we did before, we just build exactly what you need and then talk about storage. But that's where it gets complicated because you can't just say, yeah, throw 1 Tesla wall battery on there, we're good. That may not be enough. It might be, but it may not be for your family. You know?
Yeah, gotcha.
So how do you calculate that? Because especially in the summertime, people are using 3-4 times as much electricity.
Yeah.
Than
When you think back up, if your longest possible day you have in the year where you use the most power, if you multiply that by like 1.5, that's how much kilowatt hours you'll need, how much battery storage you'll need to get your home through the average blackout. Because when the sun comes out the next day, you're good. But if you run out of power at 4 a.m., you're going to be powerless for the next couple hours. You know what I mean? So you need to have enough storage.
Yeah, exactly.
You also need to have the right batteries because some batteries have a weak start threshold. When your HVAC kicks on, your central air kicks on, you feel that hard clunk when it starts, right?
Right, and then all the
Because it
lights
has-
kind of like flicker.
It has
'cause-
such a hard start
Yeah.
that it could trip it into safety mode, and now you don't have power. You know, so if it's not done right, now it actually takes a professional. You know what I mean? Like you really have to know where to go to get your info because still a lot of misinformation out there.
Right.
You know, and now it's even more complicated. So now you have less rookies on the street, but also people who don't know what they're talking about still.
So the power that, let's say, you get from solar throughout the day, it's no longer going to the power plants to save. It's
It
going
will
to
if
like
it's
a separate-
excess, yeah. It still will if it's excess because you're connected to the grid. But first, it'll fill your batteries, you know. So if you fill up all your batteries, you go away for a week, obviously you're not going to use your power. So it's going to fill your batteries, and then everything else will go to the grid.
And
That doesn't run your house.
but that wouldn't
you
be
know?
towards credit anymore because it just goes to the grid, right?
You still get credit. It's just it's a lot less. It's instead of 32 cents.
Because they're
for
basically
32
taxing
cents,
you on that, right?
Yeah, they're charging you rates that everybody else is paying at night. You know, the 64 cents a kilowatt hour, but they only gave you a nickel for it or a penny, depending on the rate schedule. Because now instead of time of use during the day, it's buyback rates are by hour, by day, by month, and by day of the month. So now it's like really, really complicated chart to follow. So they just made it not attractive to use the grid as a battery anymore, basically.
Well, isn't it using the grid for the battery like hazardous while everyone's using the same grid?
Yeah.
Running power back.
Yeah, it's like a 100-year-old grid, too.
It was, yeah. It's like 100 and something years old, 120 years old. So if you put a Hemi in a Ford Model T, it's going to destroy it, right? It's going to rip it apart.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Well, now we're taking all this extra clean energy that is on a stress grid already that's meant for centralized power stations distributing. And now we put a bunch of power stations everywhere.
Oh,
So
I
now
see.
there's a bunch of homeowner-owned power stations feeding all this excess energy because they have 50% more solar than they need because they were greedy back in NEM2, and now you have way more stress on the grid. So the already stressed grid is now even more overstressed, and now we don't even have enough energy. Like Edison runs out of energy, so they have to go buy emergency energy. We buy 80% of our power now from out of state and out of country. So now, we're buying half our power from a solar farm in Mexico. So everybody that doesn't have solar, already using solar, just paying exorbitant amounts of money for it.
Really? Because
So
even though we think we don't have solar, we're actually paying for the solar, but down in Mexico.
yeah, exactly. Because we get natural gas from Texas and Canada, nuclear from Arizona, coal, believe it or not. We still use coal energy from Utah. And then the rest is green energy from Mexico. What other green energy can you think of in Mexico? Right? I mean, it's going to be solar farms, and that's exactly what it is. So we're shipping in $18 billion of power every year. That's why it's so expensive to have the utility company, because they're making you pay for all the extra money they're having to pay to buy power to run your home.
Because we don't have power here in the States.
Exactly, because we don't
At
have
least
it in
here in
California, because they shut down San Onofre. I know we talked about that last time. So now, they really, really have to buy all their power. And now we can't use our hydro dams because it's in drought again, so now we don't have that really coming. And, wind farms are great, but they're not as efficient as they want them to be. So they need to buy extra power. Plus we have tens of thousands of people moving into Cali every month in community after community that pops up. So now there's even more power pulling.
So we need power, but we don't have power, so we're taking it from somewhere else.
And now we're getting charged extra for it.
Right. But even our grids can't even sustain all the power that we're using because there's so much.
So now they're having to raise your rates so they can put more money into the grid to upgrade it and fix it. There's 2 charges on your bill that if you don't have solar, mean that you're paying for everybody else's solar. It's called the new system generation charge, which is you paying to upgrade the new system, right?
Yeah.
And then they're running solar farms and charging you the new system generation fee, just like the other generation fee from the oil, right? You have your generation fee, then you have your new generation fee. So now you have 2 of those. Yep. So now you're paying for solar power from Mexico and solar power from Edison. And then they're just charging you to get it to you.
So it's almost like compound interest.
Exactly. Yeah. and then the other one is the competition transition charge. Who's the competition for the electric company? They have a monopoly. It's only solar.
Right.
So it's you paying for the money they're losing by people going solar. So you're helping them stay afloat while everybody else goes solar.
So the only way to get around that is to
Go solar.
Go solar.
Because all of those charges go away because they're not generating your power. You are. They're not transmitting it or distributing it to you. You already have it.
There's no transmission charges.
Exactly. So you don't have any of those charges. The only thing you'll still have from Edison or your utility would be the connection fee, which is usually like $12, $10, and then there's a couple like the the wildfire charge. You can't get rid of that one; it's mandatory. But I mean,
wildfire charge is kind of like an
15
insurance,
bucks,
right?
It helps to fix the wildfires and pay for all the damage and that kind of stuff. So even though we live down here, those northern fires still burning us.
Yeah.
Through our bill.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
that's wild. And one of my clients that I'm working for, she is an electrical engineer over in Compton.
Yeah.
And she was saying that because all she does is she kind of calculates how much energy is putting in and putting out throughout California and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was saying that we have to come up with a new system or innovate our grid in order to take in the power because we're having too much power come in.
Right.
Exactly. And that's kind of PG&E up north actually filed for bankruptcy a few years ago. And the way that they were saved is they partnered with Tesla, like SDG&E and SCE are now, and did the virtual power plant idea where they were including batteries and making them way cheaper for people in all of their systems. So, I can sell those too, you know what I mean? So but the virtual power plant is a distributed network of solar systems in homes with battery storage. So during 4 to 9, when we have the outage of power where we're like, crap, now we have to shut things down because we don't have enough power, instead of having to ship it to them, they take it from you, give it to your neighbor. Now everybody has power in the neighborhood, and the extra power they needed, they didn't have to buy from out of state or out of country. They bought from you because they credited your account and took it from your battery, shared it with the neighborhood, and everybody doesn't have to have a blackout.
And then you get credit for that if they take your power, right?
And they're like $2 a kilowatt hour. So I mean, you really do make you make money if you have 40. If you have a 40 kilowatt hour storage system and they take 20 of it. You just paid your bill for the Edison for 3 months.
So when you say you make money, is that technically saying that you're saving money, or do they actually say
no, they pay you for the kilowatt hours that they take from your storage because your system that you own produced it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you produced it, stored it in your battery. They had an emergency or a high usage time, and they needed extra power to avoid blacking the neighborhood out. So they took it from you, your neighbor, and Steve across the street, and then now everybody's good. Right. But whoever they took it from gets credited. So now they're paying you $2 a kilowatt hour. So you can actually make a little bit of money off of having storage, as opposed to the energy companies just giving you a credit on your bill.
Right. And every solar company is different in terms of their policy and the payment and stuff like that, right?
They're all pretty similar.
Okay. Because you can just call up any solar company and you'd be in good hands.
Not really. Yeah, not any company. The problem with solar as an industry is that in the beginning they weren't really honest because they didn't really know. It was
kind of a trial and error.
It was still kind of new, and it was so expensive. It was $100,000 and change to get solar for your normal house. So the only way was to get a lease, And Sunrun started the lease program, you know, now.
Right.
And then the leases got a really bad rap. Everybody thinks they put a lien on your home, but they don't. You know what I mean? Like, like I don't want to lease. I don't want to lien on my home, and it's just the equipment. It's not the home. So it got a bad rap. And then, of course, because it's the gold rush and unregulated still, you had a whole bunch of guys come in and try to get rich and just sign the deal and walk away and never talk to the person again. So when they needed help or they had something go wrong with their project, they held it up. Well, where's the guy that sold me my shit? Oh, he doesn't work here anymore.
He hasn't worked
Like,
here in like 3 months.
He hasn't worked here in 6 months. Like, I don't know what you mean. You're like, well, I have
who
the
sold you
system
that?
on my-
What guy?
Yeah, and that's why there's people with systems on their roof that never got turned on, because solar companies went out of business. Like, because the SVB collapse, when that happened, Harness, the company that I was working at, before we talked last, they went out of business when that happened. That's why I had to leave there. That's how I ended up at Boundless. So, you know,
we talked to a customer in Redlands that had that happen. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was that old guy.
We did, yeah. Yeah, when we were knocking.
Yeah, it was this company, and we never heard this company.
I've now that I do it virtually and I pretty much work from home, when I go out knocking, I'm going out to look for door knockers. Like, I'm going to go hire them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for door knockers so I can be like, bro, how much, you know, how much you like the company you're working for? Tell me about them, you know, like, pitch me on your company. And, you know, if they're in a great spot, good. You guys are in a good spot. You're doing it right. And I can tell you know what you're talking about. That's fine. If I meet them and they're like, man, this is so hard. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, bro, listen, let me show you the ropes. You know what I mean? He can tell you firsthand. You know, let me show you the ropes, and then I'll take care of you better than they are. You know what I mean? So I try to train and mentor more people and recruit them to the right side of solar than going and just bashing every other solar guy so people come to me, because that's not, you know what I mean? That's not how to do it. If you really know what you're doing, you're good at your job, you don't have to go yelling at everybody. Like, you don't have to tell everyone, I'm really good at my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people just know.
Yeah,
right?
people just should know that, hey,
exactly. So,
Travis knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and we do have a caller right now coming in, so Joe's going to plug us in. And that was a long beep. All right. Anyways, if you guys are wondering what we're talking about solar and all the differences between the good, the bad, the evil, the ugly. We got Travis right here, and we got our co-host Kyle Kerrigan as well in the building, as well as my girlfriend Ashley and my dad, who came all the way to Michigan just to watch me be on my show.
Right down the street.
Ken's also here, and so is Joe, so give a shout out to them. So we're talking about solar, and you used to be a door knocker.
Yeah,
when you
I started from the bottom, just like everybody else. Now we're here. Yeah, absolutely.
And so now you move to basically your own business in the solar
talk
industry.
a little bit about Power.
Power's cool because of a lot of reasons, but mainly the difference is that it's cloud-based, so we can help you anywhere. You know, and then you're not going to deal with me and then have no idea who you're talking to on the other side of the country who's helping you. You know, I could literally sell solar to you from a cruise ship if I needed to, you know, with Power. So I don't actually have to do anything for you in home. And the fact that we have a different price model than anyone else in the business. Everyone uses that red line model, which is the retail, you know, that's the go-to for retail.
Right, exactly.
I want this much profit, so you can't sell it for less than that. And this company wants their profit, so now they add that to it. You know what I mean? And now it's just a race to the bottom on who can be the cheapest, and then nobody makes money, or a homeowner gets, you know, set up wrong because they were worried about getting commission as opposed to helping the homeowner do it the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because, you know, like they say, one bad customer will cost you 100, one good customer will get you 10, right?
Exactly.
So you really have to do it right the first time. So, you know, to have professionals in a network that's 7,000 strong, you know, across the country really makes it so that it's easy for me to hand you right to a guy who can come to your house. I'd rather do it. I'd rather do it in home. I don't like the video screen, and, you know, I'm not really tech savvy. That's cool. Let me make a phone call, and then I can hand it to a rep who's in your area who can go, you know, close it for me, you know, so who can close the whole thing up and wrap it up for you. And it makes it really, really good that way. So you're not out of touch with the company. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But also, because of we not having that red line model, we use a cost of goods model, and they're famous for it because they're the only ones that do it. So cost of goods is exactly what it sounds like. You're getting it at cost. So whatever it costs to get your system, buy the stuff, put it on your roof, that's what it costs. You know what I mean? So it's not a matter of, well, this guy made this much commission, and how much is this guy going to make? And now I got to pay my manager, because, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah, and they got to pay my manager. How much is the opener going to get? How much is the closer gonna get?
Exactly.
You said when solar first started coming out, it would cost like up to $100,000 to get solar for your home.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
what's the price difference now? Like, how much is people usually paying?
Yeah, I mean, it's come down a lot, a bunch of times. So now, you know, you're looking at, they say your home gets $4,000 added to it for every kilowatt that you install.
Oh, wow.
Right, for upping your property value. So, you know, you're looking at about $4,000 a kilowatt. Right, so if you need, you know, a 10 kilowatt system on your home, probably going to cost you about 40 grand before all the tax credits and, you know, everything else. And that is kind of a decent way to put it,
exactly.
You know, simplified for people who don't know what they're listening to. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fairly cheap now. And now that we have the Inflation Reduction Act bill that they passed a year ago, the mechanics of how it works make it so much more affordable that it really kind of is free. You know, everybody talks about, oh, there's no such thing as free, and there isn't. But if you're paying a $300 electric bill and you can get rid of that and replace it with a $150 bill that will go away in a few years because you own the system now after, you know, 10 years, now you have no bill. Where'd you spend money that you didn't already spend? Right. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
You actually saved half your money. So you got paid to go solar, technically, right? Now you have another $150,000 in your retirement fund because you went solar when you did, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's really the goal. So if you're getting a proposal from a guy at your door that says you're going to pay more than you're paying for electricity now, something's wrong, because solar is, we're at that point in the industry where solar is 100% cheaper than the electricity company. Doesn't matter where you're at, even in the cheapest utilities, it's like a bill swap, right? You may not save a lot, you may not save month one, but you're definitely saving. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely cheaper no matter where you go. So, you know, the goal is to save you money.
Is there certain places or houses that cannot qualify for solar?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, if you're surrounded by a bunch of trees creating shade on your roof, you're not going to get enough sun. Houses that don't have a good enough roof usually get disqualified.
I was going to say, like, the shapes of a roof, does that matter as well? Like,
shape matters a little bit. If you have a really complicated roof that has a bunch of small roof planes, you know, like old Victorian homes have like the round,
like the cones.
Everything is either triangle or cone, or it's just you can't really do that. So if you can't put it on your roof, you can always do a ground mount if you have the space on your property. You know, and you know, when I say ground mount, you think of the solar farms you see, you know, on TV or on the internet where it's a big concrete pad, but much smaller. You know,
there's a huge house. We saw it. It had this huge ground mount. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the big gray one.
You took a picture of it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This guy had probably 100 panels in the back of his house.
If that.
Like, he had a lot, and it was all on a ground mount, just right to the side of a hill on the back of in his backyard. And this was like an estate. This had to be like a 10,000 square foot home.
Really?
Yeah.
How big is each panel?
Each panel is about 3 by 5. They're about 50 pounds. So when people think, oh, I got bigger panels because the number is bigger, you know, it's 350 watt or 410, you know, it's not bigger, it's just more powerful.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
So it's not like you think with batteries when you go, you know, AA, you know, AAA gets smaller. It's not how it is. It's really all really the same size. They just are more efficient and they are stronger. So,
Gotcha.
but either way, whether you have a small number watt panel or a 425, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be solar.
The best ones are still Canadian Solar, right?
They're one of the best. You know, the best, you know, kind of depends on where you're at. Yeah. You know, because, you know, some of them are like the Panasonics people really like, but they're really not that great in hot weather.
Really?
So they're not great here, but they're great in Northern Cali.
Okay.
You know, or they're good in, like, you know, Northern Nevada. The REC panels are really, really good. And, you know, everybody knows SunPower panels are the best in the business, but they're exclusive to SunPower, you know.
Right, exactly.
And they're really expensive. because they're branded and monopolized by a company. So that's
and they were
capitalism
developed,
101. You know what I mean? So they are really expensive, and there's comparable, other panels like RECs and the Hanwha Q cells that are fabulous and still the same quality, just not wrapped in a Tiffany's box.
Yeah.
So like it's just the box it comes in, man. That's the difference. So it just doesn't say SunPower on it, but it's still the same. What really matters isn't necessarily the panels you get, because there's no moving parts in solar. That's why they last for 50, 60 years. There's panels from the 70s that still produce power today. So it's really about the company you go with, because you have to know that if that company goes out of business in 10 years, your 25-year warranty isn't going to be shot, or you're not going to have service for 25 years. Tesla's been dropping service from people in different areas all over the country. People wait for a year and a half for their Tesla solar roof, and then they get a letter that says, "Hey, sorry, thanks for choosing Tesla. We're not going to be able to fill your order. We're not servicing your area anymore."
Why is that?
So, because all he cares about is SpaceX and Twitter, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but Tesla cars are okay, but Tesla solar is not all it was cracked up to be in the first place. There's a lot of unhappy people with Tesla.
Is there a program where you can buy people out of their contracts and like maybe make money off that?
Not that I know of.
Is there any legality to that?
It's not a bad idea, though.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of business for that. No, when you get into those contracts, they really are pretty airtight. However, I mean,
if that company's not there anymore?
In a lease or a PPA, you always have a buyout option. You can buy the system out, then you own it. If the company goes out of business, there are a few companies that will continue your service, right? Like people know of Sonova, right? Or Sunrun. Sunrun isn't a panel company.
No.
They're a solar provider. Yeah. So no matter what company installed your system, Sunrun provides your service. So as long as Sunrun is around, doesn't matter if your company went out of business. So, I use Sonova sometimes to help people finance their system. Now it may come from me, but the service came from Sonova. So now Sonova warranties their system, everything else. So it really...
So that's why a lot of people go through Sunrun,
Exactly.
Freedom Forever,
Exactly.
Sonova.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, Freedom Forever is a fabulous installer. That's who was our installer when we worked at Boundless. Mm-hmm. They're just really big. So just like Sunrun,
they grew way too
great
fast.
company. They just grew faster than expected,
Yeah.
And then now they're trying to play catch up on, figuring out how much manpower they have to actually cover the work. You know what I mean? So, and, most of the things people have complaints with is how long stuff takes for the solar company. But most of it is really the city just making permitting take forever. Or, oh, they didn't come out to my house for 3 months. Well, when was that? Oh, it was 2021.
Especially
Well, they weren't
LA.
allowed to come to your house. Like, that's why it took 3
LA
months.
is terrible for permitting.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. LA's pretty bad.
Oh, my gosh.
Corona's nice where I just moved to.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Corona's like over the counter.
Oh, okay, you guys moved out of Chino?
You can have installs in a month in Corona.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
which, as long as everything goes well and it's a clean job and, they don't need a roof or a panel upgrade, any of that, But I've seen them go like 5 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
In like Chino or Corona, stuff like that. But in saturated areas, it's going to take a while because they think of the permitting office and the stack of permits they have to work through. So.
It's a lot of background work that's happening before.
Yeah, because systems are customized to each home. So it's not like they can say, oh, this is a 10 kilowatt system? Okay, rubber stamp. Like, they can't do that and just work through a pile. They have to take every one and have an electrical engineer and a structural engineer look at it and make sure everything is right.
Every
Code
single
guy make
house.
sure everything is going to pass code when they build it.
Right.
Then they got to go make sure it's permitted to put it on there. We ran into a couple people with a roof that had one section unpermitted. And then
the whole thing
that's
was
what they were
an
worried
add-on?
about.
Is that why, or what?
Yeah, it was like they had like a C-shaped house and they covered the patio.
Oh,
So now it has like an actual roof, but they just did it.
And now they want
which
them to
wouldn't
tear
stop.
down the whole roof.
Yeah, which wouldn't stop them. Like you just couldn't put solar on that square of roof.
Right, you would have
because
to-
it's not permitted.
permitted area, yeah.
So, but having all of those questions answered takes a while. And if the city is one of those cities that just takes a while, like LA, because they just take forever, or Orange County takes a lot too.
Hawthorne is terrible too.
Yeah. Certain places have it like online now, like they're over the counter. They're getting much better with it.
Okay.
Like Menifee is like automatic permits. They're over the counter. Or like Hemet, like you can get them really easy down there.
I heard. Yeah.
It's really quick.
Hemet itself is really trying to get people flooded into their area.
They have like a lot of incentives too.
Yeah.
A lot of incentives on it.
Hemet got I saw a list. I saw a poll they did a while ago where they had like the best and worst places to live in the country, and not like opinion-wise, just like median income, unemployment
like
rate, that kind of stuff statistically. And Hemet is like number 2
for worst.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. and it's unfortunate, and it's not really Hemet's fault or like anything to say bad about anybody that's from Hemet. It's just that the economy didn't do well and it suffered. Yeah. So now there's a high unemployment rate, all that kind of stuff. So but I did see that. But they are trying to come out with more incentives to help people move in, get solar, produce clean energy, all that kind of stuff. So it is helping them. So.
All right, guys, we're going to go take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking about some solar and what we can do in order to help ourselves and help our neighbors,
help ourselves.
right?
And maybe talk a little bit about the ambassadorship program, too.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys listening to Whatever Works on KCAA, 1050 AM and Express, 106.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Like I should. When in Durga, walk around the neighborhood, feeling blessed. Never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. Lithium, the lightest metal, has transformed our rechargeable battery technology, but it can also be transformative in the human mind. Its powers were recognized by early cultures, from the Greeks to Native Americans, and for decades it has been used as a pharmaceutical drug. Lithium is highly reactive. It's one of the few metals that will easily burn. If you try to put it out with water, it reacts violently as it splits off hydrogen gas, which also burns. When lithium burns, it creates a crimson light, which you've seen whenever you've watched a fireworks show. Lithium makes their signature red color. Lithium is so reactive, it's typically stored in mineral oil. But when it enters the human body, often as a much less reactive lithium salt, its incendiary personality does a 180. In a process we don't completely understand, it seems to moderate the flow of electricity and promote the overall health of our nervous system. The result is a calming effect. This has led doctors to prescribe lithium as a successful treatment for bipolar disorder. Studies have even found that cities and towns with higher levels of lithium salts in their groundwater have markedly lower levels of depression, suicide, and violent crime. A very surprising fact, which has led some scientists to recommend that lithium be considered an essential nutrient. It may be time to take a closer look at this ancient remedy. I'm Scott Tinker, and thank you for listening.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau de Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can be truly miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth! Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually, tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
Bob Vila here with my home improvement tip of the day. Gas-powered fireplaces have been showing up in more and more homes in the past few years. They're clean, easy to use, and add a nice ambiance to the home. However, one drawback is the noises they sometimes make. If you hear a popping noise when the burner's on, it may signal small leaks around joints in the burner assembly. To test for leaks, first turn off the burner, and once the ceramic logs have cooled off, remove them from the firebox. Next, mix a bit of liquid detergent with water and pour it into a spray bottle. Turn the now exposed burner assembly back on and look for any small bursts of flame that may be popping around the joints. If you don't see any, try spraying a little detergent mix on the various joints and fittings in the burner assembly. If you see bubbles, you've found the leak. If you can't find a leak, or the leak you find appears to be a hole in the assembly itself, you'll want to call in a pro. Get more info at bobvila.com. And right here at home with me, Bob Vila.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And I'm Travis Matthews.
Man, we have a full house today in the studio. There's too many names to go around, but we got a lot of people here, and I'm very happy that we're all here. Friends, family, sharing some laughs. Hey, you know what's crazy, Kyle? I was at a family friend's house today, and they're playing music on their like Pandora, whatever, for dinner, and this song came on, Sunday Best.
Yeah.
And the mom was like, "Oh my gosh," she's like, "This is where I know your song," or like from the song from is like from your show. I was like, "Oh yeah, da 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 da." So it's really cool that people are like listening to our show and like connecting dots between like that song and like our show and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool.
When you know it's working.
Yeah.
People are listening.
I got recognized at the casino when I worked there because
Really?
the song came on and someone tapped me on the shoulder. I was working on a game.
Uh-huh.
And they come up and they're like, "Hey, are you the guy from the show?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "We love you and Sam. Like we listen all the
Really?
time."
Oh, that's cool,
and
yeah.
the song came on.
That is pretty
And
cool.
yeah, so I thought it was
That's
pretty
awesome,
cool.
man. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there's some people that they leave their radio station on 10:50 a.m. like when they hop in their car, and it's kind of crazy because people don't think that a lot of people listen to the radio, but they do.
They do.
My dad's been jamming out on the radio this whole time I was here.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
And if there's a lot of people, they just replay the same music over and over again, and sometimes they get tired of their own songs, so. They can tune in on this. They can go on social media, our website, our Instagram. We'll get back on topic. We have a lot of good guests. Travis is he's our second time coming back.
Yeah, second time.
Yeah, he came back the first time, and he was hired from a business doing solar, door knocking, getting everyone registered to get solar, and now he's branched off to his own little business, right?
Yeah.
So recap on that. Let's talk about that.
Well, basically, like I said before, I work for me. I'm the CEO. Everything that happens is dependent on me, but it also is in my control.
Right.
You know what I mean? I work when I want. I work where I want. If I wanted to go on a cruise with my wife and somebody needed solar, I could sell it from a cruise ship, because it's all cloud-based. So instead of being stuck working for a company who has, you know, a regional and then a district manager and then, you know, your sales leader, and then now you're sharing your commission with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, it incentivizes people to make as much as possible on every deal so that they can get more after they split it 6 times. You know what I mean? And that is not in the homeowner's best interest. So for me, when my wife and I started our business, you know, as consultants, I'm not a sales guy. That's not how I look at it. I'm not trying to sell you something you don't need. Yeah. You know, like I'm not trying to sell you a Beamer when you can take a Honda. Like you don't need the Beamer, you know. Yeah. You need solar because you need to have the lights on and you've got to have the fridge going. So if there's a cheaper way to do it, why not?
Right.
Right? If Edison came over and said, hey, we have a better option for you, it's way cheaper and you'll stop owing us money in 10 years, you'd take that. Yeah. In a heartbeat. The difference is I'm not Edison. You know what I mean? So now I just get to go help people and know that running on a cost of goods model instead of a red line model, you know, it helps me to help them better. So it gives me a better position to be like, I'm on your side. Let's figure this out together. Yeah. And we'll get you to the end of the journey. You know what I mean? So,
because the last thing you want is being at home, and then especially if you have a what is that called? It's not a water tank. It's an instant heat.
Oh yeah, like the instant hot water.
Yeah, it's off electricity.
Tankless water heater uses
tankless water heater.
Yeah,
exactly. Last thing you want is to have like a blackout, right?
Exactly.
And don't they have scheduling blackouts in Like I know last year they did.
Yeah, they do, except that's not the issue anymore because it's not really so much the power going through the system that is an issue, but the heat. And because, you know, whether or not everybody thinks so or not, climate change really is real. So it's getting hotter and the sun is getting meaner. So now the lines are hotter and it's harder to keep them from overheating. Yeah. You have 500,000 volts running through them. Obviously, they're already going to be hot.
It's already hot,
so you hear them humming when you're under them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Crazy.
Half a mile away, you can hear them humming. So, I mean, they're obviously full of power. So when the grid goes down, it's not necessarily going to be a rolling blackout anymore. Like now we're worried about the grid going down for 3, 4, 7 days, you know, to where it's like just like it broke. Like they have to fix it and it's going to take a week to fix it because, you know.
It's a whole line. It's a whole system.
Yeah, exactly. And when these wildfires start and they burn up a bunch of lines, that's millions of people that don't have power because there was 1 mile of line burnt. You know what I mean? So
see, and that's what I don't understand. There's a lot of things that we have innovated throughout our years, throughout history, and these power lines were invented in 1800. Yeah. And we're still using the same method, same system, like wood poles with wires sticking out above the ground like 30 feet. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
We have moved to the future in terms of like most things in life, you know, like technology and all this stuff. But there's some basic stuff that we need to innovate, like these power lines, that would help us, you know, succeed in our future.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's part of why we have such high electricity bills from the utility companies, because they are upgrading the grid, but they can't do it fast enough. It's just not possible. Like we could spend $1 trillion on the grid tomorrow. It still wouldn't be fast enough. Right. Because the grid needs to be completely revamped. Like the whole thing needs an overhaul. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? So like there's millions and billions of miles of grid in America, right? So how could we fix all of it in time for it not to ever break? It's gonna break.
And people like society can't even function off of not using electricity at this point.
Definitely not
so
anymore.
It's not like, hey guys, we're gonna take a week and just go to like, you know, medieval times, dark ages, start writing on pencils and papers, and then in a week we'll be back up with some new technology.
Exactly. And now that home healthcare is kind of, you know, moving into the future of being mobile and being able to do it at home, you have a lot of people at home on dialysis and oxygen, and you know what I mean? Like if that goes out, you're done. You're not going to make it through a 2-hour blackout. You know what I mean? So those people need to have battery backup and solar so that they're grid independent. Yeah. You know, I call it grid agnostic. You don't need the grid. If the grid is there for you to ship back to or pull some if you need some extra, great. But if the grid goes down, you're good. You know, like your system has backup storage to run your home, and you have, you know, a smart main panel, a span panel, which you can only get through power. That's proprietary too. We have a nice, we have a smart home main panel upgrade. We can help people out. So it will make your batteries last 40% longer in a blackout just by using AI to control it.
Speaking of batteries, you know, year after year, after a battery is like consistently used, it loses like its power, like a percentage per year, right? Or like some type of calculated system like that.
Panels usually, they thought would degrade about 0.5% a year.
Okay.
But then we realized that after about 25 years, instead of that 80% they thought they were going to have, they have about 92%. So they really are more durable and everlasting than we thought. So, you know, that really isn't the thing. And for batteries, they usually go on an amount of cycles, like 10,000 cycles. A cycle is an empty and a fill, so 10,000 days. You know, 10,000 days of backup if you only use it for backup, you know. But when they made the grid an inefficient battery and an unattractive option for storage, the solar industry reacted by having 4 or 5 other battery companies come out, or solar companies come out with batteries. So now it's more competitive. So the prices came down. And then now they have leaps and bounds in technology and programmability for your batteries. So now, you know, their batteries that have 4 different modes you can put them in.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can control them all from your phone now,
you can control your battery enough to where you can say 10% of this charges my car, 50% of it stays in there all the time for backup if I have a blackout.
Right.
You know, and then the other 40 is, you know, for my house. So,
for your house.
For self-consumption, so that I'll use it during peak time. So there really is no way, like there's no way to explain not going solar at this point, you know, unless your bill is $40. You know what I mean? Which, unless you live in the dark, like, you know, even then, it's not a matter of, can I save you money? It's, well, I only have a $50 electric bill. Okay, well, would you be willing to pay $50 more to have security and energy and not have to worry about blackouts? It's a matter of what's, like, I look at it like your car, you know? If your tires are bald, do you wait until you're sliding in the rain into a wall on the highway before you change your tire, or are you going to go change the tire before the risk is too much, right? Exactly. It's a matter of how long you're willing to risk it. So how long are you willing to wait to go solar? Well, the blackouts are coming. Like, they're going to happen. So it's not a matter of if, it's when, you know? Yeah. So, you know, your tires are going to go bald enough where they're going to blow out, or you're going to hydroplane. Either way, it's going to happen, right? Yeah. So, you know, it's the same thing. So it really is a matter of, you know, if you're you know, a family man with 3 kids and a wife that is at home and needs the power, and you know, you move your mother in, and now your mother is in your house on dialysis, and I don't want to go solar. Why not, dude? Like, you don't care about your family, dude.
If there's
like,
a blackout,
your mom will not live through a 2-hour rolling blackout. She just won't. You know what I mean? So like, if she needs oxygen, she can't breathe for more than a minute, you're gonna lose your mom. So why would you not make the investment?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's as simple as, you know, my bill is fine, I can pay it no problem. Okay, well, how about if it never goes up? Is that a good idea? Like, it's gonna triple every 15 years, like it has the last 4 15-year periods. So like, historical data proves it's gonna, and they already know years in advance how much they're gonna increase. You know, they rewrite it like every 3 years. So, you know, they rewrote it last year. So for the next 3 years, all the rate increases are already scheduled. They're going to happen. You know, it's about 10% a year almost out here. You know, the national average is 4.5, but it's almost 10 out here because of all the extra fees they're adding to fix the grid.
Right. They say it's 4 because that's like face value, but then they have all those like
inflation. Yeah, like the natural growth of inflation. You know, for electricity would be 4% nationally, like as an average. But out here, we're on the higher end of the spectrum because we have a power shortage and we have a power emergency because we don't have a grid that can handle it.
Right.
You know, so the virtual power plant that Tesla started with the power companies really is working in a lot of areas. It saved PG&E. It saved. They just started another one in Texas. I want to say it was Austin.
Yeah.
But you know, speaking of Texas, I have lead generators for me in Texas that just find people who want to get solar really bad, and they give me a call, and I do a Zoom call with them, and I help people in Texas, Florida. You know what I mean? Everywhere. So, you know,
Tell us about the ambassadorship program.
Well, see, that's the other cool thing, you know, about power is that Usually when you get solar, you'll have a referral bonus, a referral incentive from your solar company. You know, you give us somebody that goes solar, we give you $1,000 on install day. That's like the industry average, right? But with power, if I knock on your door and you're like, oh, bro, I'm a renter, like I'd love to get solar, but I can't.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool. You can still benefit from solar. Click this link on my card, sign up for free, and then if you talk to your buddy or your neighbor who owns their home and they want solar, get a copy of their bill, just take a picture of it, and their name and email and phone number added into your little portal on your phone, and then it gives me an alert that you gave me a referral. I contact them, and if they go solar, you get $1,000. And you don't have to trust me, you don't have to know me, because it's all on a portal that you have a login and password for.
Cool.
You know what I mean? So it really is a way that people who can't benefit from going solar can still benefit from solar.
Because they don't own a home.
Exactly. They can still get paid to help us help their neighbor.
I like that.
You know?
And we do have a caller in, so Joe's going to plug him in. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask.
Hi. I was just wondering, you referenced an ambassador program earlier, and I was wondering if you could expound on that a little bit and tell me a little more about what that is for and how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I give it to everybody that gets solar anyway, just because it's basically our referral program. But the cool thing about the ambassadorship program is that you can become an ambassador for solar. I mean, just because you can't get solar because you don't own your home, or, you know, you are a college kid who doesn't have a home yet and he's just, you know, in school, but you know people who want to go solar. If you help me help them, you get paid money, you know? So it's kind of the way we get you as a home renter who can't get solar, the ability to benefit from, you know, the solar revolution and, you know, everybody going green. So you can help the planet and you get paid lots of money for it. So.
Okay. What do you get paid for that usually?
It is $1,000 per install that came from your referrals. So if you refer 10 people to me, one side of your portal will say possible earnings, and it's $10,000. And then every time one of those people went solar, it would automatically switch to the other side where it says earned earnings. And then, you know, there's your commission right there. Every time one does it, it would jump $1,000 over to the other side. So everything is, you know, through the portal, be hooked up to your PayPal, you know, your Cash App, whatever.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
How do we get your contact information, or how can we get in touch with you?
Well, actually, I will. I'm gonna leave a link with Kyle and Sam to, you know, plug up on the video, and you know, but I can definitely help anybody if you just go to, you know, my website, and you know, if you just go visit power.com. You got it? Yeah, just visit power.com / Travis.Matthews. And that'll bring you right to my page. And, you know, then you can get whatever you need from there. And you can book a meeting with me, and, you know, we can help you guys out.
Yep. And then also, because we only have about, I'm sorry to interrupt, we only have about 30 seconds left. We are going to get the link so you can follow us on Instagram on KCAA, Whatever Works. And our link will be right there for you guys. All right. Thank you guys so much for calling in, tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday, and enjoy your time, enjoy the weather, and be safe. And we'll be here next week. You guys listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And I'm Travis Matthews.
See you guys next week.
Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Get all the facts, all you need to know on KCAA Radio.
The first thing you're going to have to learn is that until you stop expecting our politicians or anyone else to change your life isn't going to change. The only person going to change your life is you, but you need to know how.
Want to learn how? Meet Del Wamsley's Lifestyles Unlimited team and get your map to retirement in 5 years or less. Saturday and Sunday, October 21st and 22nd, Hyatt-centric Mountain View. Go to GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. That's GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential. Register now at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
Was your car involved in an accident or just need help with dents? All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers, in business for over 30 years. Their highly trained staff and certified technicians and friendly staff are the best in the business and treat each car as if it was their own. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers are family-owned and offer state-of-the-art equipment and tools to ensure optimum results. They use the latest technology in computerized color matching and specialize in frame repairs. With their modern laser measuring systems, they're OEM certified, and they have 4 locations to serve you. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers offer rental car assistance with free drop-off and pickup services too, and their work